We're Overbook Besties, and I'm Alana.
And I'm Sin. We are diving into part 2 of Queen of Shadows by Sarah J Maas. We're also looking at season 11, episode 11 of Below Deck Med. And Alana and I watched the first 4 episodes of Let's Marry Harry on your suggestion. So we have not been able to talk about it, and we can't wait to dive in. Alana, this section of Queen of Shadows, as we've both said, it was our favorite book. I could not believe that part 2 did such an amazing job after already believing that part 1 was the best. And I feel like this part really showed us how relationships changed for the better, for the worse. What were some of your favorite relationship dynamics in the book?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, definitely Lysandra and her relationship with Aelin and seeing just how deep that friendship goes, seeing that relationship develop. Finally, I feel as though we have Kale making a decision on a side, so...
Can we pause actually here? As you said, Kale picks a side. You know, he's made this noble sacrifice. I don't know if you thought of me, but at one point, Aelin is talking about Kale, and she admits that the reason she does not share all these parts of herself to Kale is because she herself could not face them. Just wanted to leave that out there. Continue on.
What was the subtext? Because I fear I'm missing it.
I'm just saying, when we were talking about who was like a better match for Celaena / Aelin, we kept saying like, oh, she shared so much of herself with Rowan. That's because she was ready to face it. So Kale, great guy, wrong time.
Got it. Wrong time for him too, because
Yeah,
we're on book 5 of this series, and finally he's getting a backbone.
I mean, I guess it's book 5 and Aelin for the first time decides to fight for her country. But yeah, I mean, let's not compare sticks and stones or whatever the expression is. Yeah, but what was another relationship you enjoyed?
The point when Aedion sacrifices himself for Rowan, or is going to, and Rowan has this realization of, you were going to put your life on the line for me, and then Lorcan, well, actually Lysandra saves all of them, but Lorcan comes to help too. I think that whole scene in the sewers was relationship just beauty in my mind.
I want to piggyback off of that because I have to agree so wholeheartedly. We've watched them in part 1 fight for Aelin's attention, fight for like the prominent place in her court. And then even Aedion saying he's about to have this like snarky comeback to every time Rowan says, be careful, be careful. And he realizes, okay, he obviously knows we have to be careful. It's more about tempering all our emotions, knowing that we're both so scared about Aelin and the fact that we have to buy her this time and we're not getting there. It was so nice to see it go from that to almost like brothers or family. I loved it. And speaking of male relationships, Dorian and Kale
Reunited.
finally. Also, that Kale to Dorian, that's the relationships he's willing to sacrifice everything for. And then also vice versa, when Dorian is still in the Valg and we can't get him out, what is it that breaks him free? Did you just say Kale is dead? And that's
Yes.
what breaks him free? Oh, I just love male friendships that are that beautiful and genuine and deep.
And up until this point, the whole series is sort of setting Dorian up to be putting more emphasis on female relationships, on romantic relationships. And so when I'm first reading it, I assumed it was going to be some mention of Manon. Like, Aelin knows that Manon left her this note that Dorian's still inside. So I'm thinking, oh, is it going to be the mention of Manon that breaks him free? But no, it's Kale. I agree. That was beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny you mentioned that because, of course, Dorian is our resident playboy. And we have his whole journey mapped out of playboy meets Celaena, is into her. Doesn't work out. He's just this jaded, jealous boy, isn't courting anyone, but people are courting him. Then we get him with Sorsha. She dies. So heart-wrenching that now these two people that were important to him and the sidestep from his playboy character don't do anything. It's his male friendship that gets him out of the hole. We've seen him plummet into darkness. And who are we seeing a bosoming situation with? But the darkness that is Manon?
Yes, they meet each other in the darkness. That scene in the clearing with, Manon's grandmother and the king. Oh, I had shivers reading it.
Yeah, it was so good. Also, just the fact that Manon asks all these questions of Asterin and asks her about the hunter. And then the next thing she goes and does is just goes and sees Dorian and just spies at him to see, did he make it out alive after I sent my warning?
Yes.
So good.
Also on that note, it's so small in the book, and yet my memory, even on the reread, I felt as though it was such a bigger part, Astrid's recounting of her relationship with the hunter in the cabin and him sitting out on the porch looking for her. I thought it was a whole chapter, to be honest, so
Yeah, and I think it's so impactful because up until this point, we've only seen Astrid be by the law, that is Manon. Whatever the 13 wishes of her, they follow. So it was weird to see Astrid kind of make all these mistakes where she's a little too forward against Manon, she's combating everything. But for you to finally get the answer that it's because of witchlings, because of the sacredness that is them giving birth to other witches and how that was taken from her by her grandmother.
so good.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it plays out now that Manon knows this about Astrid, knows that, grandmother might have been doing some evil crap around with all the other covens, how she responds to that, because it's interesting that she lets a lead go, which a lead, she is a star character in the making.
Yes, I know. I'm so curious to see what happens with Manon and the 13 because we do get this first look at their rebellion when they leave in time for Keltane to blow up the mountain. So I am curious, is this going to be a continued streak of rebellion? Are they going to break it from within? Like, what's going to happen?
Think the craziest part about this book is that Caltaine comes on so strong in our first book as this woman in the court. She's just seemingly bratty and entitled and just wants Dorian's affections. And she is so calculated in the political moves she makes to be able to get inside the court. Doesn't understand why she was invited into the castle, but is using it because Pope Harrington's interested in her. She's weighing these options. And then she's imprisoned. And we get to see the little conversation she has with Celaena/Aelin. Now, when we see her in Morath and we see the way that she was treated, abused, and then for her to talk about how she's slowly killing the demon from within, she's biding her time. I thought this was so amazing that for this female character to use what we saw in a very surface level interaction in the first book, watch it play out when her life is at stake, when everything is at stake for her, and how she put her little smarts to use.
Mhm.
And then the revenge she gets out of it is exceptional. She not only passes over a word stone, so now Parrington doesn't have it, but she tells Alid, go find Celaena Sardothien. Joke of all jokes, that's the same person Alid is looking for, Aelin Galathynius. Like, okay. And then she blows everything up and makes it so that Alid is thought to be dead.
And cherry on the cake is when Manon looks at her and goes, "How long have you been in control for?"
Yes. And I'm glad that Manon can leave knowing that, okay, she overcame the power within her. I think it just gives that extra, like, I would feel very overwhelmed if we got to the end of the story and the only person who knew that she had fought it and won was the reader and Caltaine. I needed
Mhm.
someone else to know and pass on the strength of this woman.
Yes, and full circle moment, she wraps the word stone in the piece of the cloak that Aelin or Celaena gave her.
Yeah. Also, it was kind of a nice tidbit to know that she wanted to bring the whole cloak and they said no.
Mhm. So many threads.
So many. And that's like we're weaving a freaking tapestry, and it is stunning. Okay, after all of this, I have to tell you, I totally, totally, totally forgot that Erewhon is in fact already here and he's in Barrington.
Same. I forgot Parrington had Erewhon in him. I was like, what? Was I sleepwalking in the first read? I totally thought it was the king that had a king in him.
Okay, but like pause everything, because now that you know that, it makes the king's actions versus Parrington's actions so different to kind of dissect. Like, the king was making human level evil atrocities versus Parrington's doing all the other dirty evil work. Like, the king saying, "Oh, I stomped out magic to protect my son, and I went to Aelin in hopes that she would destroy the demon inside me, and that's why I was needling her."
Did you believe him?
I mean, kind of. Did you?
Again, I think the thriller girly in me was like, oh, this is his last ditch effort to try and be saved.
Okay, but a last ditch effort that we're not going to get any confirmation on is kind of wild.
It is. And for Dorian, I was kind of surprised that he didn't get sucked in at all. Aelin did. She was pausing, hesitating, and Dorian was like, no, we gotta kill him.
You know, I really feel for Dorian on like so many levels, because if you've hated someone for that long and you've seen all the evil, it is hard to now at the 11th hour believe that they're capable of being anything different. But he did give them a lot of gifts in that conversation. He also told them about Erewhon. They told you about Parrington, and told you that the reason he's freaking out about the Eye of Elena is because that's what's going to put him back in his box, not release him. So I am inclined to believe him.
Yeah, I think logically I am. Emotionally, I'm not.
Yeah, fair.
What did you think of Lorcan finding out that Aedion is Gavriel's son?
I wrote this in my notes. The only reason that Rowan and Aedion are alive right now is because Lorcan just happened to see Aedion leaving the apartment and was like, oh no, no. Because he was sending Rowan to his death and give zero fucks. But the moment he saw Aedion, he's like, oh, but my other brother that I like. I thought that was an insane play, that's the only reason Lorcan comes back. But wow. Just before we continue on this, Lorcan's revenge?
I didn't think he had it in him.
Unbelievable that Aelin plays this insane trick on Lorcan. Rowan has thousands, hundreds of years with Lorcan, knows who he is personally. And they said, we're going to send the scent on him. He comes back and says, I killed them all. Why didn't you believe him? Yeah, why could we not have dropped a rock down there and no sounds, we're good. Like, we didn't check.
This sounds like your level of trusting people.
This girl didn't tell anybody any of her plans. And now she's like, you know what? We don't need to double check this integral part that, by the way, was carried out by our nemesis. So that was fun to see play out. I will say it was such a great extra layer to know, hey, above in the castle, we're running out of time. Below, we are barely surviving.
One person who we've touched on, but not really talked about, Lysandra and her shape-shifting.
I love that her first shape-shifting form is a ghost leopard. But
Yes.
so cool, like full circle, and she's doing it off of just descriptors at this point, right? She's like,
Wild.
okay. And just watching her go from shape-shifting to that to saving the boys underneath and then going up to try and save Aelin.
So good. And that she makes the decision. Like, her and Evangeline were leaving in their carriage, following Aelin's orders to be free. And again, I think this just speaks to the connection that Lysandra and Aelin have. She comes to their rescue. And then humor points for when she throws up on Lorcan. I was crying.
Yeah, or even just her with the guards, and every time they're like messing around or someone pisses her off, she just turns back into the ghost lover. She's like, you know what? F around and find out. I also love with Lysandra this stunning, beautiful person that has been brought up to be a very specific person that uses her looks and her body is now obsessed with being different versions of monsters. And she loves it so much. It's exciting to see that she now has autonomy over how she presents. She finally
Mhm.
gets something, and the way that she's doing it is not, ooh, crave my body, it's fear my body.
Yes, and their whole trip to Terrassen, just the small moments of descriptions of her changing forms, and I think it was an apple core or something that Aelin threw, and it hit her in her crow form. These are the little humor parts I love.
Yes. Okay. With Lysandra, Arabin leaves a letter in his will that basically says Lysandra is a shapeshifter. So, do you think that Arabin knew she was for sure a shapeshifter or that she had magic in her lineage? And also, how long did he know? Does he truly know that Aelin and her are friends? Like, what is the depth of this betrayal?
Or did Arobin know who her father was? And so maybe
Mm.
he didn't fully know if she had that magic because he's never seen her shapeshift, but
Right.
knew maybe her lineage and filled in the blanks or something like that. But I agree to receive this letter and hear that he's kept this secret and then to use it at this time of all times, wild.
Insanity. I have to say, just the heartstrings that we're tugging when we find out she's gone because Evangeline has shown up at the warehouse.
Mm.
And then also, this moment is so hard to watch as I'm visualizing it because you see Aelin looking at Kale and he realizes what part of his face she's looking at. It's the scar she left from when Nehemia dies, and her saying, never again. And him echoing that sentiment, it's not going to happen again. And he jumps in full drive. He's
Mhm.
ready to go, doesn't care about anything else, talks about Dorian. And then, even as the plan is unfolding, what did you think of their plan, execution, and fallout of saving Lysandra?
I was finally hopeful. Kale is choosing a side. He is acting in ways that I want him to. And then he runs off on his own to be the hero. And I was so annoyed. I think I yelled at him. However, it did lead to such a good scene of Aelin versus Manon and the clashing of Aelin and her court versus the 13 and this epic
Yes.
fight. And then the character development of both Aelin and Manon, where Aelin ends up saving Manon. And I love in this, the reason is not, oh, I felt bad seeing her die. It was, I feel this tug. And the only other time I've felt this tug or this thread connecting was with Irene Towers, the healer from The Assassin and the Healer. And that's what drives her to actually take action and go save Manon.
And that she hears Asterin screaming for Manon and thinks that's how I was screaming for Rowan. So this is obviously a meaningful relationship. And again, we've been talking about all the female friendships she's had that she's lost. And I can only imagine this is an echo of Nehemia or even an echo of Sam, like all these people that she hasn't been able to save to watch her be at the hands of someone else feeling that would be catastrophic.
Yes, so
Also, that
good.
the debt is paid so quickly. I can't get over this moment of, hey, finding out from the vendors something is happening and her running, thinking it's the worst or the scariest possible thing.
Mhm.
Witch killer. The human is still inside. Inside or inside him, it's one of the two. I just thought that that was so well done to give them the hope they needed. Make sure we know as we go ahead with the plan that we are trying to save Dorian. And also, again, the debt's paid. Whether or not I agree that that's enough, but it's the beginning of here's Manon making up for her previous choices, right?
Mhm. I actually forgot that all she did was left a note. When she mounts Abraxos and takes off, and I think there's a note of, I need to go so fast, or the pace needs to be so fast. I
Yeah.
thought she was going to fight alongside Aelin to defeat the king to help save Dorian. And so when I
Mm.
saw the note she left, I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, that's it? That's your debt. Why don't you stay and help?
I mean, the witch just heard about how Astrid had a baby and now she has like a scar on her stomach. What do you think is going to happen when she fights alongside grandma's like worst enemy? The king is the ally.
Fair.
Ooh, which like the mirrors are super cool because we did see them play out with Baba Yellowlegs in her trailer, and understanding that on much larger scale they are going to be catastrophic is exciting that that's the weapon. I don't know what I imagined in my head, but I will say that being the answer was really cool tidbit. But also, how are they going to use it now? Caltain's wildfire is gone. Hellfire.
Hellfire.
Yeah.
Shadowfire?
Some kind of fire. Insert word and fire here. Speaking of witches, wasn't it interesting that the Valg King or the Valg Prince is only impacting a certain set of witches, and the witches with certain eye colors were kind of getting away with it? Little neat fact. Feel like I overlooked it on the first read, but that was really interesting.
And was your interpretation that, because Manon's eyes are an example of the type of eyes that the Valg Prince fears,
Mm-hmm.
was your interpretation that those eyes are a reminder of the Valg kings that first created the witches and the princes are scared of the kings? Or is it the Fae eyes and they're scared of the Fae?
I mean, bold of you to assume I made some kind of interpretation. I made a note. I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's the extent of where that thought went, because then so much more happens.
Great.
I also wanted to ask you, we've been talking about Kale, is he finally making a choice, etc. Do you feel the sacrifice he made at the end of this book absolves him of his previous choices? Is he finally redeemable?
I don't know. That's a hard question. I
Okay.
have a hard time because I think, to be honest, I forgot that after his injury, he actually is motivated to recover and get back to himself and be able to be in this newly appointed position that Dorian appointed him to.
I personally feel like it's interesting that he had to make this big act for some other members of the fandom to say, like, oh, now he's redeemable or he's still not redeemable. Because I think having left the castle, he is so redeemable. He made the choice to actively help the rebels. He's out there putting his life on the line, trying to get people out of the city, keep people safe. You see him, in cahoots with the guards at the palace, which, oh my God, the fact that they are all dead and that's how they died, and he finds out in this capacity. Can this man get a break? Like, I
We need a little asterisk anytime you talk about Kale.
no, but literally, this poor man. Anyways, I digress. I really feel that he already redeemed himself. And this was just like another shiny little piece on top to say, okay, he has clearly chosen a side. To your point, he's going to go on living to help Dorian and be a member of his court that Dorian can rely on. So, this character arc to me is so meaningful. And again, Aelin says, at some point, here are the three men that matter most to her, which is insane because come on, how can you leave out Dorian? You and him are like partnered up in magic and are fighting the king like a pair of twins. Fire and ice. What more can you ask for? I feel like we glossed over that. Dorian ripping off his own collar and then unleashing this power to break the castle, kill his father, and to, I don't know, save the world.
I was a bit confused because I thought the only way they could share magic like that was if they were Karanov. And so then I was confused because I understood that as only being able to do that with one person. So then when they shared their magic and it was fine, I was a bit confused. But I do think that was such a fun visual of here are these two badass magic wielders and the king thinks he has them beat and they're like, psych, gotcha.
Yes. Okay, so are you telling me that there's hope yet for me that Aelin ends up with someone other than Rowan? Because Dorian is actually my favorite male character in the story. It's
Don't tell
not
Kale.
Kale. But listen, I couldn't say anything because people wouldn't understand early on why I like Dorian. Now that you've read this far with us, look at what a badass he is. He's internally struggling and fighting this Valg, which who can say any of us would survive that? Come on, that's a lot. And it happens right after Sorsha's death. He lets his friend be happy in a place where he's looking at a girl that he thought he loved. And Dorian. And he breaks his own flipping collar. He saves himself. He's his own dang salvation.
He's an independent man.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Yeah, that was a very powerful point. And I loved the imagery of Aelin using her wildfire to melt the shards of glass that were directed towards the city and potentially going to wipe out the city. And now there's this molten glass wall surrounding the old castle. Ah,
Yes.
so good.
Okay. What did you think of her speech to Dorian's subjects?
Basically, like, get in line or I'll fucking kill you.
I was like, do you want to be a beloved queen or feared? Both? Cool.
Maybe
That
a
was
little
an interesting
harsh.
take. Which also, you know, the fact that she's coming off this epic fight and she's about to sob, she just needs to get everything out. I just thought it was such an interesting take to immediately be like, everybody, I'm not your leader, but your leader's in there. You will not riot against him. Everyone chill. And my last point is Mart dead?
Yeah, there was one small sentence about him, but we don't fully know. The area that the tunnel was in collapsed, right? So
Yes.
I don't think he is.
And she kind of just makes this little comment to say, well, if he did die, I'm sure he would be okay with that end of his existence. And I'm wondering, hey, do you remember anything you shared with this doorknob? Like, you're not going to shed a tear?
He's just a doorknob.
That doorknob was integral to my mental health when I was reading about him. His humor was needed.
Operation Bring Back Mort. Maybe Terrassen will have space for Mort.
I mean, I don't know why we're stopping at one talking doorknob. Shouldn't every house have several?
It's the new Google Home or Google Doorbell.
Mort, add this to my grocery list.
Mort, who's at the door?
Oh, wow, these uses. How do I do this? Let me Google.
Speaking of doorknob, you know who's a real doorknob?
Good gosh. Who could it be, Alana?
Harry.
Okay, before we dive into the show, I want to start on positives. What are some formats or anything about the show that you're really enjoying so far?
I think my exact words in a text to a friend where she asked, oh, is it a good show? Should I watch it? It's like The Bachelor. If you like car crashes you can't look away from.
I've never watched The Bachelor. So, or The Bachelorette, like I've never been in that territory. So when I saw the format of this, I was like, okay, interesting. I will say, I do like that he has like almost accountability coaches on one side, consisting of his friend, his brother, and his ex-girlfriend. I think it's interesting that he can veto their choices. And I do like that the accountability coaches, that's what I'm going to call them, are also watching things behind the scene and making choices to dismiss people based on that. Because obviously, this is the type of show that's going to invite others who are looking for fame, looking for a quick Instagram, trajectory. So them in the background being, okay, a little critical of your comments here, or we get to see how you are with the other girls versus with Harry is a really cool, interesting pick.
Agreed. I did like the behind the scenes that it almost had Big Brother vibes.
Oh, yeah. I also haven't watched Big Brother.
Oh my goodness. Are we even friends? Jeez.
Moving on. The eliminations are so dramatic with these rings, with everyone standing up there. It's insane. And again, because I haven't watched The Bachelor Bachelorette, I just find that this formatting is so awkward because you're telling me that every single one of these girls who's never met Harry in real life is saying, yeah, I'd marry him. Yeah, I'm into him based on the few things I've seen on him online, which like a quick Google search is probably going to tell you this is not the man for you.
I did like how there was some females who were questioning, are you someone I actually want to marry? Can we have deeper conversations? So I did like
Yes.
finally there was that.
It's Kiki, I believe, also has a conversation with him and says, like, what's the vibe? He says, oh, I just see it as friends. And I feel like she challenged him, like, don't you want your partner to also be your friend? Which good hot take. But he says it doesn't feel like it's going to be more. And she makes that decision to go home on her own, was very empowering to watch, because that's what I would want from shows like this is if you go on the show and you realize this person's not for me, that's great. And then at the end of that episode, too, he chooses to save Juliana and sends home a front runner, a girl that confidants really, really like. This is the switch you wanted to make, especially knowing she's bringing out the worst parts of you.
And that's the reasoning behind your confidants choosing for you is they're seeing this side of you that you said you were done with, and it's popping back up when you're with this person. Of course, they're trying to have your back.
Okay, but is that side of him done with? Because this guy's like, I shouldn't be kissing everybody on the first date. And then he kisses everyone. And one night he's like, this is the best night of my life.
Who allowed his confessionals to air? Because if there were none of his confessionals, you wouldn't feel as disturbed. But this man is treating this like his hall pass bachelor party before his wedding.
Okay, also going back to just a positive mindset, I did like in one of the conversations he's having with one of the girls, he says his dad had recently passed, and this was something like, oh, my dad recorded videos for my future children. Just those pieces, you could see him getting emotional. And I feel at his core, he probably does want something good, but given the format he's chasing it in, obviously he's going to have fun with it. When we look at other shows like Love Island is a prime example of people finding someone they really have a connection with and then going to Casa and messing it up, but coming back to their connection. You actually had something to lose. What does Harry stand to lose here? Nothing. He has no real connections yet with any of these women. So of course, if this is the format you're presenting him with, he's just going to play.
100%. I did like how on the paint date, I don't know, maybe I'm just a sucker for let's have fun. Like, I totally agree. A relationship should have humor, fun. You should be able to joke around with each other. And he kind of calls out the one girl to the effect of, she's treating this like a professional painting. I don't give a shit about the painting.
Okay. I truly believe in that episode that the girls who were focused on the painting were like, the best painting is going to get a date.
Yeah.
That's probably what's happening. They're like, oh my gosh, we got to Picasso this shit. They're like, if we do the best, we get a date. And it's not that at all, which really blew up for them. But Juliana, is it Juliana who writes the name first, or is she the one who erases it?
Sammy writes her name first.
Yeah, Juliana was wild for that one. It came off strange.
And that he, in his confessional, described finding that a turn on. I was a little bit like, ooh, ding, 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 there's your red flag.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of the king of red flags right now and trying not to be. I will say he is trying not to be. The secret ring.
Okay, who did he give that to again? Wasn't it Juliana or no?
It's not Juliana.
Oh, starts with a D, right?
I don't know, but yeah, this whole secret ring, which I thought was really funny because he says, like, it's a really tiny diamond. Have you seen that meme? But I feel he was getting to an emotional place and then had to throw humor into it. He's like, oh, actually, this is getting uncomfy. I love that she kept it a secret. Also, I really love that they got rid of a girl who made this really intense choice. I think she massages him, makes out with him, and then she goes back and tells everybody.
Yeah. And it was a lie. They were talking and she comes back. She's like, we didn't talk at all. We made out for like an hour. Rolled the tapes back. We all saw you talking. Yes, you made out. And there was conversation.
Also really weird to go back to the house and say it like that, knowing you're all there for the same thing.
And the girl that he gave the ring to has also kept quiet about their intimate moments. So similarly, I agree that she's been able to keep things to herself. And that feels more special and purposeful too.
Yeah. So she would be my front runner, but also I think she might be too good for him, which I could probably say about most of the people in the house except for maybe Juliana.
I did feel bad for the one girl in the first episode who came on really strong, quit her job to be there, was all in, and she gets sent home on the first episode.
Oh my goodness. I can't remember her name, but there was this one girl that Harry in the first episode is, wow, these conversations are so deep. She was so endearing to watch. She's talking about, what she wants out of life. She's very calm. And the confidants and Harry are all, is she going to be fun for him? And she gets sent home, which I was like, okay, fair. But also, wow, this is the caliber of woman you could be with. And you're going to take someone who you literally look at and you're like, I think it's just lustful.
Yeah. And the woman who was a mom, it's sad. I know her kid's name, Noah, but I forget her name. Similarly, it seems like they're having good conversation. They're having good connection. It seems like that's the lifestyle that Harry wants to live. And then the confidants go, oh, we're not so sure on her. And if I was a mom, I'd want to get back to my kid as soon as possible. So we're going to let her go. Like, you're doing her a favor. She chose to be on the show. She obviously
Right.
made arrangements for the full duration of the show.
I was actually just surprised at his reaction to her having a kid. I thought that was going to be a huge moment for him of, oh, I'm not ready yet. Also, do I want to be the father of someone else's kid?
Mhm.
Is a valid question.
Mhm.
So that was surprising the way he took it. Also, on the topic of kids, he says to a couple of the girls, I really want a big family. I'm really into having kids. And when they do the question of let's match up our answers, when do you want to have kids in the future?
Someday.
Yeah, someday seems a lot farther off than
Yes.
the way that you're articulating it.
And all the girls who he had those conversations with put sooner timelines.
Yes, which fair. That's what you guys discussed.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think of Georgia, his ex, being on the show?
I don't know anything about her or their relationship. I think, yeah, it just feels strange. And even sometimes I find myself watching her when the camera's not actually on her to see what she's doing.
Okay. It's been a long time since they dated. And when I was doing the read up of the show, it says Georgia's his most recent serious ex. I'm like, it's been some time. The last time they were together was when she was on Perfect Match with him in season 2 or season 1. That's been some time.
Plot twist, he proposes to her at the end of this.
No, they had like an insane falling out. He ends up being friends with another of her exes. And she even says, I don't know why anyone's calling these guys my exes. Like we all met on reality shows and dated for a very short time. So it's hilarious to see her as the confidant and his most recent serious ex, because should that be your experience right before marriage? Arguably, you're going to be learning all the things you need out of a relationship in your most serious long-term relationship. It shouldn't be a marriage, in my opinion. That's a hot take.
I agree. I guess maybe she has some really good agents who are friends with Harry's agents.
Yeah, that's all that it is. Who do you think holds more power, the confidants or Harry?
I think the confidants, I think Harry likes not really having the power. Like, it's a little bit of a cop out for some of these hard decisions.
Yes.
And at the same time, they say he has a save, but then he says, I'm not going to use my save anymore. But it wasn't explained to the girls, right? Or the contestants.
But then he uses his save again on Juliana.
Mm-hmm.
And it really felt like when Juliana went up there that he was saying, I'm going to defer to my advisors and I have to trust them even though I don't want this. And she kind of tricks him or she kind of gets in his head. The way that she's looking at him, I'm like, this girl for sure expects you to save her.
She's giving bedroom eyes.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you're feeling lustful now, huh?
Yeah.
Those are my eyes.
Those are your bedroom eyes.
No one go to YouTube for this. It's too compelling. You're not allowed to see that.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, also, we have the women who all are competing for Harry. There's 20 of them. It's being whittled down. But isn't it strange to have that be the dynamic where he has all the power? And yet, there's still some really good female friendships being formed in here. I love that.
It's funny because I keep having to remind myself you've not watched The Bachelor.
Do they make friends on The Bachelor?
I I haven't watched it that religiously, but what else do you do with your time? Because when he's away on a date with 1 to 5 of them, there's 15 or less around the house. What else are you gonna do? Of course you're gonna chat and hang out. It's a beautiful house.
I mean, I'm thinking one day I'm going to make it to Survivor or The Traders. That's my long-term plan. I'm going to be friendly with everyone, but I'm also here to win. So I'm surprised they're not using those moments, which I do feel in the second episode or immediately after the first dumping or whatever. It's interesting to see the way that people were and somehow their background conversations shifted quite quick because then they find out, oh, we're being watched all the time. It's not just with Harry.
Yeah, 100%. Is it bad that anytime I see the girls with a book in their lap, I'm like, "Oh, what are they reading?"
No, I'm like, you should listen to our podcast, Read Throne of Glass with us. We're going to be talking about you for some of it. I love you to Juliana is wild. As a self-respecting person, if someone love bombed me in such a short period of time under these dynamics, I don't care what I'm trying to win. I would say something.
He also calls himself out on it. So I'm like, girl, you know this was coming. You know he's doing this. Say something.
Right? And for him to pinpoint this is his behavior, keep the person that's putting him in that position, which, as much as I understand what the advisors are thinking, he's going to be in these positions for the rest of his life. He is a reality personality. He goes to parties like this all the time. He needs to work through being in a room of distractions, not remove the distractions. He's never going to be in a bubble with just him and his wife. He has to learn to work through it. So while I understood their point, I actually think Harry keeping her and overcoming would be a better plot line. Whether or not he does that, we'll hopefully find out in the next 4 episodes, but questionable. Ellie, when she's leaving, said she dodges a bullet. I really like the fallout of her leaving and the other girls wondering, wait, is he really for marriage? And even if he is he the guy for me?
Yes, I agree. The wheels are turning, hopefully. Can't wait for the last 4 episodes.
And the reunion is this week, which is my favorite part of any show. Speaking of reunions, Max is back aboard.
Yeah.
For Below Deck Med, this episode was actually insane. What were your immediate thoughts?
I know I'm going to eat my words, but I'm going to say it anyways. I like competitive Joe in this role. I think he is actually doing a fantastic job of leading by example. He's staying up late to set things up, of positively reinforcing his crewmates. He's giving them feedback. He's being direct with them, asking them what they need to do. When Cooper calls him because the tender's not working, he calmly says, yep, check here and then call me back. I know I'm going to regret saying it. However, I think he is doing a great job at Bosun.
Okay, but we talked about this in a previous episode. I said Joe is a person, not great. As a worker, he does a great job. However, I will say he does some very interesting sneak things where he says, oh, I just reorganized all this stuff. Sandy, I'm letting you know. And then Sandy to say, I've been asking for this from the beginning. Sandy, you know they're dramaing. Don't be adding fuel to the fire. And then for her to go text Nathan, don't worry about anything. Joe's the bosun. He's killing it. It's like Nathan is literally going into surgery right now to make sure he's back on the boat. Like he's like, I can't leave them alone. So I found that kind of interesting. Should we just start off with the intense drama of his text message to Max?
I love Max as a reality persona. Him reading the text, going, oh la la, putting the phone down, taking a beat, taking a breather.
So good. Also, the internal battle for him is, I really do want to be lead deckhand. This is something I've been striving for, working really hard for, and was crushed that I didn't get last time I was here. So what am I willing to do to get it? Especially knowing he's been having a great time with Joe, the Jowson. So what will he do?
Also, on the note of stirring the pot, Max right away texting Nathan. Joson's got it. Come on, Max, you
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
Oh my God. And also, Joe says to Max, like, I wanted to do it this way, but Nathan,
Mhm.
these little pieces are just too much. And on that note, Nathan had some news come out this week. He's been having some trouble.
Mm,
I think allegedly he had like a domestic with a woman that I don't believe is Gail. I
mm.
honestly didn't want to dive deep into it. It was kind of sad to see. So hopefully he's okay. But also, really, to your point with the hothead attitude, this seems to be where this is going. I'd also like to publicly apologize for anyone I say I like or I'm a fan of because it seems I might be cursed. It's like I say that I'm a fan and then the sin curse is wafted over you and news immediately drops. So apologies. I don't like anyone anymore. Speaking of, I have some feelings about Joy and the way she handled this charter and the charter guests and their food.
Mhm.
Do you have any hot takes on that before I dive in?
Yeah, I was surprised how she went into it. I think Joy is a great chef. However, I think being the single chef without a crew beside you on an elite super yacht, you need to kind of massage your guests into wanting something that you know is going to be doable for you. You look at the preference sheets and you see every single one of these charter guests has different preference sheets and none of them align. That is where your artistry as a chef comes in and you say, okay, they all like pasta, but they have
Hmm.
different preferences. So tonight we're going to do pasta elevated and you're going to get lobster, you're going to get this, but everyone's base is pasta.
Right.
Similarly, she goes up to plan the menu with them and she just opens the floodgates and says, what would you like for dinner?
Okay. So, first night she says like it's going to be Japanese style, and they talk about the crispy rice and the avocado. All of that aside, they've given her ideas. She now has to go back and check those preference sheets because someone said, yeah, I'll eat anything avocado. But there's a girl on the preference sheet, she doesn't eat any avocado, and you've given it to her. One person's vegan, other person not vegan. And it's weird that she says it was a red flag when they were asking for burgers and shrimp. I'm like, but they're not all vegan. And yes, I get that there's only one primary, but like, arguably, should not the rest of the guests also have an enjoyable time? Like, when you and I go on a yacht, our dietary preferences are going to be very different from our partners. You and I are going to seafood it up. You better cater to us, but also cater to our partners.
Mhm.
And also, I feel like she just came in negative from the bat. It was just a
Mhm.
weird, immediate reaction, which I get. Like, this is going to be hard for you. But as you said, you have to come in with a plan. And pasta is a great one. You can make a gluten free pasta, do whatever fish or whatever there. You can do a vegan pasta, sauces, whatever there. But even to me, the fact that they came on the boat, they got snacks, you're drinking all day, they told you dinner 9:30. They need to eat something between then and now. You know when
Mhm.
they're drinking alcohol, they're going to be hungry. So what are you putting out? It was weird for me that she suggested cookies when they wanted burgers and shrimp.
Mhm.
Yeah, just like some interesting situations there. And when all of this pans out and obviously goes up in flames, the next day she's like, should we do pizza?
And again, no direction, right? Like you're coming to this, what you assume is going to be Michelin star level chef.
Right.
You want to be wowed. If she came out and said, okay, I had this great idea. What if we did a pizza bar? And then beside the pizza bar is what each of you would prefer. So give me your one thing you prefer. Like you could involve them in a way that's fun and exciting and feels personal instead of just, I was thinking pizza.
Right. And you could also tell her attitude was like a little off. And Kaylee at some point says, oh, you had a conversation to avoid this. To avoid what? Them being hungry at any point on the boat? Like they need to eat. 3 meals a day seems pretty standard.
Yeah, I do wonder if that's where Aisha is really good at being that bridge between, and that's just not happening. And I do
Right.
respect Aisha for trying to give Kaylee that space to learn in the fire kind of thing. And she still supports, she just doesn't leave her hanging. However, I
Right.
do wonder if coming coming off the back of a charter where the guests were super easygoing. Their food preferences were kind of standard American fare, like it wasn't anything fancy, to then these charter guests who are very particular, but also have very high standards. I do think there was room for Aisha maybe to sit in with Joy and support that initial conversation.
Yeah, I actually honestly didn't even think they had high standards. I feel like they just had food intolerances and made it clear. Do you remember there was one chef on one franchise that would almost like sticky note things like this color was gluten free. So when she looked out, it's like, oh, this is it. Because I can get it. If you're seeing someone and you're going to see them for 2 days on charter, how are you going to memorize things right off the bat? You need to have a visual to remind yourself, or you need to keep referring back. Like you have to have some kind of a system. And she doesn't have that. Again, great chef, obviously exceptional. Was sad to see her so deflated from how that went down, especially just of all annoyances to happen for Kaylee to go down and say, all avocado. No, she doesn't eat any avocado. Just all.
Watching that play out, you're like, no, 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 it was watermelon. No.
Yes, I was like, that's not what she said. Go back.
Yeah.
Our favorite character, Jen, shines again in this episode because she says, I'm going to start flirting with Cooper.
Do you think, hot take, Kat should have warned Cooper or no?
I think Kat actually should have said something to Jen instead of warning Cooper. I feel Kat has been on this amazing streak of direct communication, understanding how to bridge things, but I also understand she's hiding this secret relationship and probably feels that if she says something, it's going to look like there's more there and she's trying to steer everyone away. But come on, Jen, Kat's been such an exceptional friend to you. Even if she is done with Cooper, you're on a tiny boat. You're all in each other's vicinity. How is she supposed to feel knowing that she was rebuffed by Cooper? Even if she's over it, this is a weird play. And then she says, I'm joking, but she's not.
I hate that. That is one of my pet peeves. Don't tell me you're joking when you read my facial expressions and you're trying to save face.
Oh, should I write that down? I'm definitely going to be telling you I'm joking for everything now on.
I'm gonna have a joke meter and count them. I worry that it's sort of made Jen this like forbidden fruit for Cooper. Kat just had this experience where Cooper tried to push her away and then was reeling it back saying, just kidding, let's be secretive about it. And now you've gone and told him, heads up, Jen's coming for you. He's gonna like the attention. He's gonna be like, oh, this is so bad. I shouldn't flirt with her, but it's so easy. I'm worried about that happening.
I would have been worried about that if it was Haley. I struggle to worry about that with Jen, who has been such an interesting aura around the rest of
Where's
the crew.
the aura meter?
Right? Like everybody else's aura meter is a little bit more symbiotic. And over here we have her aura meter, and it's just, one of these doesn't seem to match. So I don't know. But that being said, Cooper is the person who got up to check on her when she was all upset about the cheersing drama. So you might be seeing into the future.
I hope not.
This boat's going to drown. At this point, it's going under. And I'm willing to bet at this point that Nathan is the one taking it down.
Oof. Well, we did get that little preview of him and Joe potentially going at it. So
this season
TBD.
still has a lot of high moments left. Unfortunately, these are not high moments I'm excited about. So next week, we're going to finish Let's Marry Harry, the last 4 episodes. We're going to catch up on Below Deck Med. Also going to watch the Let's Marry Harry reunion. And I've posted a poll on our Instagram today because we have to figure out how we're reading our next set of books. I personally did the tandem and loved it. Alana?
I didn't do tandem. I read them separately and also loved it. So
Right. And I feel like 2 Canadians trying to make a decision. We're like, no, you choose. No, you choose. So you're going to choose for us. And we need to start reading immediately because these are 2 very thick books.
Thanks. And beyond voting, another button you have to click. Well, you don't have to, but we'd love it if you did. Please subscribe, follow us on whatever platform you're hearing this from. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.